Welcome to the 5-Pack, where we talk about the 5 things that matter, 5 things that will matter, and a daily pack rip. Here is your host, Kyle Elfrink.
Thank you very much, producer Heather Klein, and thank you very much for tuning in here at the Better Sports Network. Kyle Elfrink hanging out with you, and yes, you have arrived at the daily 5-Pack, where quite simply we tell you exactly what we do within that title. Yes, there's a pack to open. Today it's not baseball. No, we got to switch it up occasionally. You know, you can only handle so many pack breaks of 88 Donruss. Eventually, you got to try something else. So in honor of the NBA play-in action, 2 games last night, 2 more tonight, we'll celebrate a little NBA. 1991 Upper Deck. High-end basketball here, baby. This is year number 1 of Upper Deck, creating basketball cards. And I noticed right as I was looking before the show, see here in the blue part, what's it say over here? Find the West. Oh, yeah. We have a chance at a Jerry West autograph coming up. Pack is, what, 30 years old? Over 30 years old? Maybe a Jerry West autograph has been just yearning to be released from this package. We'll see if we can do it today. That will be for the end of the show. Before that, we will take a look back at the 5 things that did matter from last night in Major League Baseball, and a look ahead to 5 things that will matter today and tonight in Major League Baseball. A lot of daytime action, and we'll get you some of that action and even some of the lineup news coming from the games coming up today. So that is all headed your way. We like to show highlights. We like to show pictures. We like to have fun. We like to kind of just see where the discussion goes. But if you ever, and I know this can occasionally happen, if you ever miss a night of baseball, a day of baseball, a few games of baseball, it can happen. I get it. Not everybody can do what I do, sit on my butt and watch baseball. But if you ever miss any, just know every day, Monday through Friday, right here, 12 o'clock Eastern, we'll tell you what you might have missed and what mattered. Not everything matters. We tell you what to care about as you go through the baseball season. Okay, without further ado, let's get to our 5 things that did matter from last night. I will tell you this. We've had already some big RBI games in Major League Baseball this season. Just the other night, we had Nelson Cruz with 6 RBIs in that win against Atlanta. But topping all of them, last night in Baltimore, Ryan Mountcastle kind of had a game of his career. 9 RBIs for the Orioles outfielder in a huge win against the Oakland A's. And he came up in a huge moment in the 8th inning against Oakland last night.
High fly ball left field. My. Did he? Yes, he did. As grand as it gets.
456 feet, and we just said Mountie sit on that slider, and he got one right in the heart of the plate. And wow.
A 9, count 'em, 9 RBI night for Ryan Mountcastle.
Tough to do there. 9 RBIs for Ryan Mountcastle. Now, why does that matter? Well, Ryan Mountcastle with that game kind of becomes an early season hero. He now leads baseball, or at least tied for the lead in baseball with 5 home runs. And the 9 ribbies gets him up to 18 on the season. He's had a good year. He's had a very good year. So a great start for Ryan Mountcastle. Big win for Baltimore. But I'll tell you this. The reason that moment really matters to me is I was looking at the attendance for that game. Now, we know the hell that it has been as a Baltimore Oriole fan for like the last 5 or 6 years. And last year they started surprisingly to turn that corner. This year they're expected to keep turning in the AL East. That moment right there, really that game last night against the A's is one of those moments that if you're there, and there were only 12,000 fans there, by the way, That was the official announced attendance. 12,000. Now, as an old fogey, I think back to the late 80s, early 90s, and Camden Yards was always sold out. Like, it was literally one of the hardest tickets to get in all of sports. 12,000 fans last night. Now, I don't know how many of them were still left when Ryan Mountcastle launched that shot last night, but that's a moment that turns you into a lifer. It really is. And maybe not a lifer in terms of baseball, but it turns you into a lifelong Oriole fan. I will make a prediction, and there is no way for me to be wrong nor right here, unless somebody were to, yank my chain 5 years from now and say, Kyle, you were right. Because I can't be proven wrong on this, but I could be proven right. There is at least one fan in that ballpark last night that experienced that moment, that experienced that game, that experienced all the scoring, that experienced the legendary 9 RBIs from Ryan Mountcastle, and they became a lifer for the Baltimore Orioles. They fell in love with the Baltimore Orioles, and they chose a good time. You don't have to put up with the crap. You're 6 years old. Maybe that's your first game last night. That is what mattered. Like, the Grand Slam, pretty cool. The moment, pretty cool. By the way, did you see what they've got in the dugout there? They have the, what are they calling it? I think it's the dong bong that the Orioles have. Some people throw a necklace on your shoulders when you hit a home run. Other teams, like the Orioles, they have you bong like a Powerade Zero. I think it's a Powerade Zero. It's not your typical beverage that you would stick in a bong, but that's what the Orioles are doing. You hit a dong, you drink out of the bong. And Mountcastle got to do that actually a couple of times. He had 2 home runs on the evening for Baltimore. Moving on to item number 2 in the 5 things that did matter from the Tuesday night of baseball. Don't we always talk about a trade where both sides win? Like, that's the dream. Both sides win the trade. It doesn't happen often, but occasionally it does. Last night kind of stood out to me because we saw 2 guys who were traded in effect for each other. There were a couple of minor leaguers involved as well, but 2 players who were flipped for each other that play different positions, that bring totally different things to the game. They were flipped in the offseason. And last night on a Tuesday in April, early in the season, both guys absolutely shined. The trade I'm talking about, Miami Marlins, Minnesota Twins. The Marlins adding Luis Arraez and the Twins adding Pablo Lopez. Now, we'll split these highlights up so that each man can get his moment. Let's give each guy his moment. Let's start with the moment from Luis Arraez where he became the first ever hitter in Miami Marlins history to hit for the cycle. Here's our full hits, all 4 hits against the Phillies last night.
Saw Arraez on that batting average leaderboard because he's been putting the ball in play and getting himself some hits, as he does right here. A 1 hop off the wall in right center. That'll be a 2-out double for Arraez. Arraez will have himself extra bases into the corner. Now this will be maybe even 3. Got to that perfect spot into third base with a triple. In the air, deep left field, going way back, and that's gone. A home run to the opposite field for Luis Arraez. What a night, his 3rd extra base hit. Pitch clock down to 1, and that is going to get down a base hit. The first cycle in Marlins franchise history, Luis Arraez. The last team in baseball without one.
They got one now, and you might be wondering, really? A Marlins guy has never hit for the cycle? This team's been around since 1993. So what is this, the 30th season of Marlins baseball? I looked it up this morning. Since the Marlins arrived on the scene, April of 93, there have been 112 cycles in baseball. 112 of them. Well, for 30 teams, so each team on average should have had close to 4 in the last 30 years. The Marlins just got there first. So congratulations, as the announcer said, as Marlins television said there. They are now the last team in baseball. Everybody else has a cycle. Remember we went all those years with the Padres, they could never get a no-hitter. They finally have a no-hitter. And now the Marlins finally have the cycle. Now, as for Arise, when he was traded, a lot of people questioned that trade. From the Marlins perspective, you're giving up pitching for a singles hitter? You know, that's what people were saying. Oh, you're giving it. They gave up Pablo Lopez, who we'll get to in just a bit. With Arise, though, they got a little more than a singles hitter. They got a guy who's an absolute unicorn in this game, who puts the ball in play. Let me just give you this number. This will speak to the unicornness of Luis Arise for his career. The dude has 143 walks to 134 strikeouts. 143 walks to 134 strikeouts. His average for his career is now 320. 320. And just a singles hitter. His OPS for his career, 800. That ain't just a singles hitter. It's one of the best hitters in baseball, honestly. And I don't know where he goes from here. He's hit like 560, so he's probably going to go down. But kudos to Luis Arise, making history in like his 12th game as a Miami Marlin and making the Marlins look pretty smart. You know, they allowed the move for Arise, allowed him to play second. They moved Jazz Chisholm into center field. He becomes a plus defender. They don't have to find another outfielder. It's tough to find center fielders. It really is. So by making that trade, the Marlins not only got one of the better hitters in baseball, they found their center fielder. So that was another part of that trade. Now moving to the other side, Pablo Lopez. Wow, how remarkable. Luis Arise has this magical night in Philadelphia. Pablo Lopez, a pretty magical night last night in Minneapolis.
Field, there are about a half a dozen new areas as Kerry Carpenter hits one to center field. Backpedaling.
Oh.
Yeah, nobody out. And now we have an out. Lopez strikes out Gonzalez. Swing and a miss, and Vaughn strikes out. Strikeout number 4 for Pablo. Swing and a miss, strike 3. So Lopez, another 1-2-3 inning.
Strengths are up the middle.
Swing and a miss, strike 3 on a righty-righty changeup. Swing and a miss, strike 3 on a curveball. He struck him out swinging. Swing and a miss, he struck him out. There's the sweeper. Swing and a miss, he struck him out. Lopez, a 10 strikeout Target Field debut.
They don't get much better than that, do they? The sweeper, the changeup, the fastball, 10 strikeouts last night for Pablo Lopez. At one point, and it was a very important point, at one point, Pablo Lopez retired 23 straight White Sox hitters. I say it was a very important point that he started that. Check this out. And this is why baseball is so attractive after all these years. The first 4 batters for Chicago, first 4 batters of the game, you had a single, a throwing error by Pablo Lopez, a walk, and a 2-run double. Those were your first 4 hitters. It looked, for all intents and purposes, like the night was nearly over for Pablo Lopez. And then he reeled off 23 consecutive batters. He retired that many in a row, had the 10 strikeouts. It's a great night. First 3 starts have been wonderful for Pablo Lopez. You look at his numbers this year, 20 innings. He has allowed 3 runs, a better than 5-1 strikeout to walk ratio. They were talking about the pitches there. One thing with Lopez, and this is a change, and this is why last night kind of matters. He is not a 10 strikeout arm. That's not Pablo Lopez's MO. But this offseason, this spring training, if you will, the slider was added by Pablo Lopez. And the latest numbers after last night, that slider is now being thrown 23% of the time. Last year, he didn't throw it. Now it's a quarter of all the pitches he's throwing. That's why it matters last night. It's a guy with a new pitch. And yes, there will be adjustments by the opposition, by Lopez, all that. But you've got a guy who was good already Need I remind you, in the previous 3 years, Pablo Lopez had a 3.5 ERA. The whip was 1.16. Okay, K per inning. Like, he was good. Now you got a new pitch. He had a great game last night against the White Sox. An undermanned White Sox, granted, but still very good game. So that matters. Last night, both sides happy there. Twins happy, Marlins happy. The perfect trade. At least 2 weeks in. Let's move to our third item that did matter from last night. You got a sneak peek at it. We've got a new border wall up in Canada. It's a little north of the border. It's actually in Toronto. But last night, after the Blue Jays made off-season changes to their outfield dimensions, last night we saw an immediate payoff in their first home game of the season.
Field, there are about a half a dozen new areas as Kerry Carpenter hits one to center field. Backpedaling Kiermaier, jumps, and he's got it! He took a home run away in the very first game.
Never gets old, does it? Doesn't get old. You know, well, the most exciting play in baseball, what is it? Some people say the triple, the walk-off home run. Robbing a home run, pretty damn exciting. And we may see more of that. Not only is Kevin Kiermaier, who kind of does that regularly, now a Blue Jay, but Kevin Kiermaier gets to do it with an 8-foot wall in center field. For those who missed it, Blue Jays made some changes. Like, all of the walls are taller except for center field. That one dropped from 10 feet to 8 feet. Right field was moved in a ton at Rogers Center. I think 15, 16 feet it was moved in. And the wall kind of moves up and down and modulates its way from left field to right field. But in center, you've got the ability to rob a home run. Now, that was the moment last night. Why does it matter? Check out the Blue Jays defense thus far. In the offseason, they get Kiermaier. They also get Dalton Varsho. Right now, Blue Jays are number 1 in defensive runs saved in Major League Baseball. Number 1. In the outfield, they're top 5 in defensive runs saved. So they went to the offseason, added 2 key components in their outfield. They're pretty strong as is with their defense, and we saw it pay off last night. So the Blue Jays, with a pitching staff, with the hitting, and now maybe with the leather to make some noise in the American League East. Let's move to our fourth item that mattered from last night. And unfortunately, this is an item that if you own this player, if you have this player, if you wagered on this player, it probably upsets you just a bit. Let's take you to San Francisco last night, where Dustin May is pitching fine into the 6th inning. But that didn't mean that Dave Roberts was ready to let him go any further against the Giants.
Can't find a better man. Yeah, that out right there, it appears, is going to do it for him. And Dustin looks up and sees Dave Roberts and doesn't like it one bit. Jock Peterson coming up. Dave Roberts going to make the change. Left-hander coming on in a 2-0 game.
Did you ever think you'd get to see a highlight of a pitcher walking off the mound? We gave it to you here on the 5-pack. Why is it important? 77 pitches in a 2-0 game. You just gotten the previous guy out, they yank him. And you saw Dustin May. You're supposed to wait for the manager to get to the hill and then you hand him the ball. Dustin May didn't do that. Dustin May was pretty upset. Fantasy owners pretty upset. Check this out. 77 pitches last night. In the game before that, 83. In the game before that, 84. Last year, 6 starts for Dustin May. He never hit 90. I looked at his career. He's had 28 starts now. Dustin May is 0 for 28 trying to get to 100 pitches thrown in a start. 0 for 28. Check out his numbers as a starter, too. This is fascinating. All this just kind of piles up, and I get it. The Dodgers are protecting him. But I think it's very important for us to all understand that. Dustin May, 28 starts. He has a 3.01 ERA in those starts. His whip in those starts is 105. He's got a little over 8 Ks per 9. You might say, wow, those are really good numbers. He is 7-8 with those numbers. Might I remind you, he pitches for the LA Dodgers. He's 7-8 with those numbers. Why? Because he's only going 5 innings. Why? Because they don't let him throw 95 pitches. And early returns this year, We're not going to let him throw 95 pitches. Nothing in the first 3 games. I mean, that was the 6th inning last night. It's a 2-0 game. 77 pitches, and they yank him. And hey, you're doing that with Kershaw. You lost Buehler with Tommy John surgery. You're going to do it with other young pitchers. The Dodgers always have young pitchers. But it's the reality. That's what we saw last night, the reality of what the Dodgers are going to do and how they're going to handle Dustin May. That matters. One other quick note on May. 12 strikeouts to 7 walks in 18 innings this year. That ain't good. Dustin May's got crazy awesome stuff. But that is a 1.7 K to walk ratio. Last year, he was 2.1 for his career. Well, in 2021, his great year, he was 5.8. So let me say that again. Strikeout to walk ratio, 5.8 in 2021. Comes back from Tommy John surgery. The number is 2.1 last year, and this year it's 1.7. So he's got to right that ship, even beyond getting to 90, 95, and 100 pitches. Got to get more strikeouts, less walk there from Dustin May. Finally, our 5th thing that mattered has nothing to do with a game from Tuesday. It has everything to do with an injury from Tuesday. I feel like we're getting repetitive here. It was O'Neal Cruz on Monday. It was Adam Duvall on Tuesday. Today, it's not as bad as those 2 injuries, but it's yet another example of why you can never trust Carlos Rodon. Yes, he's got another issue. Here's Aaron Boone talking about it.
He just had some back stiffness, so he actually threw again today, so he's back in a good spot. He threw today, scheduled for a pen tomorrow, and then if that goes well, then back to live on Friday.
So was he pushed back at all then, or it was just like a day or 2?
Because I think he was scheduled for a live probably early this week, so it slowed it by a couple days.
Yes Network there with the audio of Aaron Boone talking pregame before their victory against Cleveland. I get it. It's minor. Okay? Understand. I'm not going to make a mountain out of a molehill, but I am going to remind you this is Carlos Rodon. You see it below me? Rinse, wash, repeat. Rinse, wash, repeat. That's Carlos Rodon. We're already rehabbing from a forearm injury. I remember when that forearm injury happened in spring training, the Yankees said, we'll shut him down for a week. It's now been like 6 weeks. They're saying early April. I hope they're right. After all, we are in the first month of a 6-year, $162 million deal that the Yankees gave Carlos Rodon. I'd love to say that injuries are unpredictable, right? We're supposed to say, injury, you can't predict injuries. As I have said for years, you cannot predict them. Totally right. You can absolutely expect them. And with Carlos Rodon, expectations should always be injuries. So, hey, I hope it's nothing big. I hope Aaron Boone is right. God love you, Yankee fans. I hope you have Carlos Rodon come early May. I'm just going to put my money on the no, the N-O. You ain't going to have him come early May. Those are the 5 things that mattered from last night. When we come back, how about 5 things that will matter for tonight? We will give you those coming up in just a bit right here on the Better Sports Network.
I'm a big fan of accountability. I bring that up because of the story that came out Athletic. Darren Ruff, now a Giant, former Met, San Francisco. We're talking about baseball, that is. And Darren Ruff talked about his time, 28 games with the Mets a year ago, in which he hit 152, no home runs, 7 RBIs, 197 slugging percentage during those 28 games, that he said his struggles with New York were magnified by both the media, which I'm a part of, and the fans. And I'm a fan as well. Or maybe it's just a case that you stink. And he was terrible with the New York Mets. And it doesn't help things that J.D. Davis has been a stud with the San Francisco Giants. It also doesn't help the problem that Met fans last MLB trade deadline were clamoring for a big-time impact bat to help that team not only finish off and win the National League East, which they didn't, but then have success in the playoffs, which they didn't as well, getting eliminated by the San Diego Padres in the wild card round. Here's the problem with Darren Ruff. It's not big, bad New York. It's not all about the media and the fans and how much of the under the spotlight, and I'm glad you enjoy your time back now with the San Francisco Giants. You were terrible in New York. It's okay to admit that. Your struggles were not magnified by the fans and the media. You were just bad. That's it. For more content like this, go to BetterSports.network app, BetterSports.com, and at Better Network on all your social media platforms.
Welcome back to the 5-Pack. Next up, the 5 things that will matter. Here's Kyle Elfrink.
This is also song number 5 on the 10 album. I know that kind of stuff. We welcome you back to the 5-Pack. Kyle Elfrink with you here on the Better Sports Network. Want to remind you that coming up at 3 o'clock today, the Fantasy Football Game Show. Oh, debut, I think, of the Fantasy Football Game Show at 3 o'clock. Today, I am told that the game they will be playing, and you can be a part of it here at the Better Sports Network, is the Fantasy Poll Perception. I'm told now this is show number 2. So this week, the Fantasy Poll Perception for the Fantasy Football Game Show. 3 o'clock later today right here on BSN. Okay, we've given you the 5 things from last night that mattered. Now it's time to look ahead to tonight. 5 things that will matter. And I say tonight, I should note we got a lot of baseball coming up this afternoon, including a game in Cleveland, Ohio, between the Guardians and the New York Yankees. And that's where I will begin with my 5 things that will matter for today, April 12th, 2023. Just got that Yankees lineup. Guess who's leading off? Anthony Volpe. Haven't heard much about Anthony Volpe since opening day. I chuckled about this on opening. I listened to a lot of national writers, opinion makers, podcasts, all that stuff. Oh, Anthony Volpe. Oh, he's going to be a superstar, Yankee shortstop. Just wait. Oh, they're going to love him. Anthony Volpe, this is going to be his year. It's been crickets since. Why is that? It's been crickets because his career has started as a 4 for 31 hitter with no RBIs. Yesterday, set out, didn't play against Cleveland. A day to reconfigure, if you will, reassess. Today's back in the lineup, and today he's leading off. Why is that notable? Anthony Volpe has hit 9th in every single game this year. So the Yankees are trying to find something with Anthony Volpe. Now, is he playing badly? I looked at the numbers. There is nothing like, oh, he's swinging at all the pitches, or, oh, man, he doesn't hit the ball hard, or he's just hitting pop-ups. Like, there's nothing in the numbers that scream, wow, this guy can't handle the big leagues. I mean, there are bad numbers, but it's like small sample size theater. That's what it is for Volpe. So I'm not going to jump to the conclusion he can't hit. But here's the thing with Volpe. He's not hitting, okay? That's the thing. This leadoff thing, he has shown nothing thus far to make him a leadoff hitter. He gets on base decently. He steals a base. Okay, I guess that's a leadoff hitter. But the results aren't there. So they'll try to shake it up. That's what they're doing today. He's going to lead off. The other thing with Volpe, and this is actually a plus for him, this allows him a little wiggle room. The other guys are doing nothing. Like Oswaldo Cabrera, who can play shortstop. They'd like to use him in the outfield. He ain't doing much of anything. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa has sucked this year. I think he's like 2 for 15. So that's not a threat. Now, there are guys in the minors who could cause a threat. Oswaldo Peraza would be one of them. But what I'm getting at is Volpe's going to be given a few more weeks. Defense has been fine. He does have some stolen bases. They're not going to bag him after 2 weeks. We'll see if this leadoff thing works. And we'll see if it sticks. You know, yesterday on this show, I talked about Bryson Stott, leadoff hitter for Philadelphia. And I said out loud, I said, man, you scored 15 runs on Monday. You did it with Bryson Stott as your leadoff hitter. Surely you'll go back to him as your leadoff hitter on Tuesday. Guess what? They didn't. And guess what? They lost. I'm not saying Bryson Stott should lead off. If you caught it yesterday, I'm totally against the idea. But it was wild to me that the Phillies, who have gotten off to a slow start, would throw Stott up there at number 1. They score 15 runs, and the very next night, he's not hitting leadoff. What? So we'll see with the Yankees. They're not struggling. They got 11 runs last night. Who's struggling is Anthony Volpe. And that's why they're trying to lead him off today to see if they can get this engine started. Let's move to item number 2 in what will matter for the day. We're not done picking on rookies out of the American League East. Gunnar Henderson is up next of the Baltimore Orioles. How about this? Anthony Volpe, 4 for 31. This guy, Gunnar Henderson, he's also 4 for 31. He does have 2 RBIs versus the 0 that Volpe has. But man, check out this number with Gunnar Henderson. More than half of his at-bats have ended in a strikeout. 31 at-bats, 16 strikeouts. Now, he's done pretty well getting on base with free passes. He hasn't been like going down on 3 pitches a whole lot. It's a slump, but you got to put the ball in play more. I mean, your K rate is just outrageous, 40% right now for Gunnar Henderson. If you look inside the numbers, and I said with Volpe, there was really nothing that jumped out. With Gunnar Henderson, one thing that jumps out is the dude has not hit a slider at all. And when he swings, he's not making contact. Like, his work against the slider this year has been negative, very negative, in fact, when you look at some of the FanGraph numbers. And in terms of that contact percentage, last year when he swung the bat, and admittedly, he's always had some swing or miss, and he'll take a strike. You know, strikeouts are going to be a part of the Gunnar Henderson experience. Now, where they're at now is a little too extreme, but they're always going to be there with Gunnar Henderson. The issue is last year when he still had strikeouts, not to this level, but they were there. When he swung the bat, he'd make contact 74% of the time. This year, when he's swinging the bat, it's 60% of the time. So he's just off. So we got to find a turnaround here. We'll see if it starts tonight. I think one thing with Henderson is, you know, we're a week and a half into the season. The guy is still, you know, very fresh at this major league thing. He's a rookie. I looked at, you know, they don't know if he's going to stick at third or if he'll be a shortstop. I was looking at defensively. And this is a problem we've got in baseball now where, you know, all these teams think, well, we'll just throw him in center field. This guy can be a catcher too. He can play third. He can play first. He can play second. Like, we're seeing a lot of that. And baseball swears by it. We're seeing it with all teams. In the case of Henderson, right now you've got 41 innings at third base. You have 19 innings at shortstop. You have 2 games where you've DH'd. To me, and I'm just looking as an outsider, somebody who's never played Major League Baseball, but like, make up your mind. What is he this year? Is he your third baseman? Is he your shortstop? Is he your DH? Like, it's cool that you can do all those things, but this is a guy slumping, and maybe part of that has to do with he doesn't know where he's going to be playing defense or even if he's going to be playing defense each and every afternoon. So Volpe, Henderson, let's get these guys going. Let's start today in our things that will matter. Item number 3. Not all young guys struggle. Luis Robert ain't struggling. Luis Robert ain't struggling. And God knows the White Sox need somebody who is hitting the hell out of the baseball. Luis Robert is doing that. Having a great run. Had a big home run last night in the 9th inning. It came off of Johan Duran, the closer of the Twins. Led off the 9th inning. It was a 3-2 lead for Minnesota. Robert took him yard, tied it up at 3-3. Just to tell you what kind of pitcher Duran is, the next 3 hitters all struck out against Johan Duran. Robert has been critical thus far to the White Sox. They got injuries everywhere. Tim Anderson was placed on the IL yesterday. They've got other injuries. Eloy Jimenez is hurt. They got things happening everywhere with the White Sox right now. But Luis Robert is hitting. Luis Robert, here's the slash line, 347, 347, and 714. Now, dirty little secret, his average is the same as his on-base percentage because Luis Robert doesn't have a walk this year. Seriously, no walks, which it's like Gunnar Henderson. That's Luis Robert. That's what he does. He doesn't sit there looking for ball 4. Even when he's up 3-0, he's swinging. So he's not going to get walks. Interestingly enough, he doesn't have a stolen base yet this season. That's something I think a lot of people want to see in the 15 to 20 range. He doesn't have one yet this year. One other thing with Robert, 5 homers, 11 ribbies, 9 runs. That is a producer. That is a fantasy stud. He has hit second in the lineup for each and every game. Key for Robert, keep him on the field. And I got to say, I mentioned the stolen bases. If not running and not sliding head first and taking the extra base, if that keeps you on the field, I will gladly take the lack of stolen bases just so I can keep Luis Robert in my fantasy lineup, just so the White Sox can have him. So right now, that kind of appears to be what's happening. Every time they keep him healthy, every single day they make it out of a 9-inning game and he's healthy is a win for the White Sox. And right now he's critical, going to be up against the Twins later today, kind of carrying that White Sox team. They haven't been really in the turnaround like a lot of people thought they would. Everybody blamed Tony La Russa last season. Right now, we're blaming injuries, I think, for the White Sox. Slow start for all those guys, but not Luis Robert. He'll look to continue it tonight against the Twinkies. Moving to our fourth thing that will matter tonight, we got another pitching debut tonight. The undefeated, yes, still undefeated, and 11-0 Tampa Bay Rays. They got to turn to a minor leaguer tonight. But don't feel bad for the Rays. They get to turn to this guy, Taj Bradley. This is our second big prospect debut of the season, at least on the hump. The other one was Grayson Rodriguez. Rodriguez has now made 2 starts for the Orioles. I think at best it's been okay, probably less than okay for Grayson Rodriguez. Now we get Taj Bradley. Now, first things first, this may be one and done. This is the Rays after all. He's filling in for Zach Eflin. The Rays say that Eflin is going to have a minimum stay on the IL, which is maybe 2 starts. Maybe Bradley gets both of them. I don't think he would have been the choice except for the fact that he was due to pitch today at AAA Durham. So Taj Bradley is going to get called up. Generally considered a top 50 pitching prospect. I should say top 50 overall prospect. Probably a top 25 pitching prospect by pretty well everybody. As you can see, he's a right-hander. 22 years old. Here's the thing. And this kind of speaks to today. He's going to be up against Boston, facing off against Chris Sale. I know a lot of people, if you were able to do this, you have daily waiver wires, or maybe you're thinking about this from a DFS perspective. Okay, I'm going to get this guy. He's cheap, or I can snag him. He's a prospect, all these things. He's had 2 starts this year at AAA. In those 2 starts, he has thrown 55 pitches and 51 pitches, i.e., he ain't going past 75 pitches today. It ain't happening. We were talking about Dustin May in the previous segment. Same treatment here. It's going to be tough. And this kind of goes to you DFS players out there. It's going to be tough for Taj Bradley to qualify for the win tonight, even if he's pitching well. Even if he's got a strikeout per inning, the Rays ain't going to let him go to 85, 90 pitches. And I'll let him go deep into the game. That's not Taj Bradley tonight. So understand that if you say, oh my God, he's so cheap, I'll throw him into my DFS lineup. I don't really see it. The other thing is, according to many, many scouting reports, he's had a little bit of struggles against left-handers with his fastball. They've kind of feasted on it. You look at this Red Sox lineup tonight that Taj Bradley's going to be facing. It's got Devers. It has Yoshida. It has Verdugo. It has Tristan Casas. All those guys hit from the left side, by the way. So that has me a little hesitant as well to look at Taj Bradley and say, yeah, jump on board that. Get him in your lineup or stick him in your DFS lineup and ride it. Still, we'll all be following it tonight, and we'll see how the pitching debut goes for the young right-hander with the Tampa Bay Rays. Speaking of young pitchers, our fifth and final thing that will matter, if you are into radar gun readings, if that's like something you truly get off on, which if you do, see somebody, okay? I get it. We all like speed. Yeah. Well, if you love speed and you love just seeing that number flash up in the corner of your baseball screen when you're watching the game, you're going to want to watch the Braves and the Reds tonight. It's going to be Hunter Green taking on Spencer Strider. There they are. Man, why does Spencer Strider, every time I look at him, he looks like he's going to clean out a pipe at my house? Right? Something about that mustache, huh? I mentioned radar gun readings. Check it out. Here's what we've got. These two guys are facing off tonight down in Atlanta. The average velocity for Hunter Green this year on his fastball is 100 miles an hour. For Spencer Strider, he's kind of a wimpy 97.8. Green throws his fastball 63% of the time. Strider's at 62% of the time. Green this season with 13 strikeouts in 8 innings. That is a 14.6 K per 9. Strider has 18 strikeouts in 11 innings this year. That is a 14.7 K per 9. Now, here's the difference between this two, and I always kind of mentioned it. 8 innings for Hunter Green. We've had 11 for Spencer Strider. Why is that? They've both made 2 starts. That is the case because of walks, because of pitch counts. Hunter Green, 6 walks in 8 innings. Spencer Strider, 6 walks in 11 innings. Hunter Green, nothing but fastball slider. Now, Spencer Strider is pretty well nothing but fastball slider, too. What he has done this year, and not a ton, it's maybe 1 out of every 20 pitches, but it's something. It's a third pitch, the changeup. And that's kind of been the concern with both these guys. Where's the third pitch? It's great to throw hard, but where's the third pitch? We are seeing Strider throw his changeup about 5% of the time. We don't see any of that with Green. It's fastball, slider, fastball, slider. That's really all he has. The other difference here, Spencer Strider, 11 innings. And again, Hunter Green is 24, maybe 25. How many pitches have these guys thrown? Again, 2 starts, but different outs. Hunter Green, it's taken 176 pitches to get 25 outs. 24 outs, actually. 176. Spencer Strider has gotten 33 outs, 9 more outs, 3 more innings on only 21 more pitches. That's the difference right now between these two. Both have electric arms. But Spencer Strider, A, can control and command his pitches. B, he's more efficient with those pitches. And C, he's at least showing a third pitch with his changeup. We'll see how things go tonight, just after 6 o'clock Eastern. I think it's about 6:45 Eastern, actually. For the Reds and the Braves tonight, that is another item that will matter for this evening. Okay, those 5 are in the books. Don't you love it? I do all the work for you. I tell you exactly what you need to follow today. That's what we do on the 5-pack. The other thing we do on the 5-pack is we open packs. We do that next. Coming up next on Better Sports Network.
Congratulations to King James. Your Los Angeles Lakers have qualified for the 7th seed in the Western Conference playoffs. Despite the Minnesota Timberwolves not having Rudy Gobert, despite Timberwolves star Anthony Edwards having maybe the worst game of his career, 9 points, 3 of 17 shooting, 0-9 from 3, the Lakers managed to come from behind to beat the Timberwolves in overtime. Now, there's some of you out there that think that the Los Angeles Lakers are title contenders. The great Bill Parcells said, "You are what your record says you are." And the Lakers' record says they're the 7th seed in the Western Conference. Remember a couple years ago when they were the 8th seed and you thought that they were going to beat the Phoenix Suns and they lost in 5 games? That's probably going to happen to the Lakers in the first round versus the Memphis Grizzlies. So despite how great the King and the Lakers played down the stretch, don't get carried away. This team is only going to be in the postseason for a short stay. For more better content, check out Better Sports Network app, bettersports.com, and at Better Network on social media.
Welcome back to the 5-pack. Next up, the 5 things that will matter. Here's Kyle Elfrink.
Well, we already gave you those. Up next, we're going to be opening a pack, and Corey was just talking some hoops there. We might as well do some more hoops today. We're going to get to that in our pack rip in just a moment. Before we go in that direction, yesterday we were opening up some 88 Donruss baseball cards, and usually as I'm going through the pack, something kind of pops in my head, but I don't want to say it right at the moment. I want to come with a more informed opinion, a more informed take. So yesterday we're going through this pack of 88 Donruss, and Tom Hinkie pops up, and John Franco pops up. These 2 guys. Now, why are these 2 guys interesting to me? These 2 guys are interesting to me because these are 2 of the best in the history of baseball at doing what they did, saving games. Tom Hinkie, not a lot of people realize this, is I think 26th in all-time saves. Now that's not going to get you anything. What do they say? That and $5 will get you a hamburger or something like that. So Tom Hinkie, just wanted to point out, really good. Even though he looks like a guy who you're going to be visiting with today to make sure you get your taxes done in time. But this guy is who I really want to talk about, John Franco. Because you know where John Franco ranks in all-time saves in Major League Baseball history? Number 5. 5th! Now, if you're the number 5 ranked player in a, I would say, important category in the history of baseball, don't you deserve at least a little bit of Hall of Fame consideration? A little? I'm not saying you got to make it, but don't you deserve it? This guy didn't get any. Nobody cares about John Franco. I pulled it up. Dude pitched 21 years in baseball. 21 years. And really, you might say, well, he pitched all those years and he just got a bunch of cheap saves at the end. Not at all. John Franco's last 6 seasons, he got 8 saves. So let's say he only played 15 years, because he played 21. Let's take away those 6 extra years and those 8 extra saves. If you take away those 8 saves, he's currently at 416, which is number 6 in baseball. I mean, the only guys ahead of him right now are Rivera, Hoffman, Lee Smith, and K-Rod. That's it. Now, Francisco Rodriguez, there's another guy. Doesn't get any Hall of Fame consideration. But again, they're top 5 in the history of the game. We could see Kenley Jansen surpass John Franco. Kenley Jansen is sitting at 393. So he would need 31 more saves, I think it is, to get past John Franco. May get it with Boston. Craig Kimbrell, part of that awful Phillies bullpen, he is currently sitting at 395. I don't know if we can get another 30 saves from Craig Kimbrell. Okay, that was from yesterday's pack rip. Today, again, we got some hoops. What is this? We got 1991 Upper Deck basketball. I think this is the debut year of Upper Deck doing basketball. And as always, Upper Deck makes a beautiful card. They don't put out crap like this. They put out nice cards. So we got nice cards here. The other thing is, according to this package, this is part of the High series. No Cheech, not that kind of High series. This would be like a Series 2 back in the day, where maybe you have 350 cards in the first set, and then later in the year you release a set of rookies and guys who were traded or guys who didn't have a card in the first set. So this is for Series 2. Notable here is that we are looking, according to the package, we are looking for the West. No, we're not looking for like California. We are looking for one of 2,500 personally autographed Jerry West basketball cards. Now, how cool would that be on day 3 of the 5-pack that we pull a Hall of Fame autograph card? That'd be pretty cool. I might just retire. Nah, I can't retire after 3 days. Okay, let's get into this one. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. We start with a man. Let me make sure I'm right here. Yes, I am right. You Boston Celtics fans are going to remember this guy. You Syracuse Orangemen fans are going to remember this guy. Sherman Douglas. Man, I love Sherman Douglas. Just the name, Sherman Douglas. He had some moments, too. I think Sherman, I want to say he was teaming up at the same general juncture with Derek Coleman, Sherman Douglas. Like, they were the big 1-2 punch. And I remember it was like, you're either a Sherman Douglas guy or you're a Mookie Blaylock guy. Mookie played for Oklahoma. Sherman Douglas for Syracuse. I love this. Now, I said these cards, how nice they are. I mean, just clean, beautiful, makes sense. You got the hardwood. The back is great. I mean, color photos on the back, that stuff was unheard of back in 1991. Upper Deck, cutting edge with their photos. Okay, so there we start. Up next, one of my guys. Man, I love this guy. And this is part of the High series. This is the only reason we have this card. This is I don't know if it's the true rookie card, but it's one of the first cards to feature this player in an NBA uniform, Kenny Anderson of the New Jersey Nets. Loved me some Kenny Anderson. He had some awesome moments at Georgia Tech. Came out of Brooklyn, I do believe, and Kenny Anderson knew how to put on a show. Kenny Anderson knew how to hoop. Kenny Anderson, I don't know if magician would be going too far, but Kenny Anderson was a smooth cat with the ball. Love that. Man, we got a good start of point guards here. Both guys out east. This one's my favorite, though. Says on the front, NBA top prospect, Kenny Anderson. Look, man, he could take it to the hole, too. Doesn't matter how many arms are in his way. He's taking it to the home. Here's another NBA top prospect. Wow, Series 2 is just full of top prospects. Larry Stewart. Not quite the top prospect that Kenny Anderson was. And somebody get this dude a uniform that fits. That thing's just hanging off of him. It's like Larry showed up to the jersey uniform guy and said, "Hey, I just want a big jersey that makes me feel like I'm a big boy." Okay, here's a size 52, Larry Stewart. Larry Stewart emerged as one of the Eastern Conference's best new players, left Coppin State and joined the, at the time, Washington Bullets. Yes, kids, we used to name teams after ammunition. Don't know if that's going to fly anymore. Why not get another New Jersey net? Back in the day, they were New Jersey too. Raphael Addison. Raphael Addison. If you know anything about Raphael Addison, you will know more than I do. He did play in Italy, it looks like. Also played with the Suns for a bit. He is from Syracuse too. My goodness, we've got an East Coast bias here. We got a Syracuse guy playing for Boston. We got a Syracuse guy playing for Jersey. We got a Brooklyn guy playing for Jersey. We have a guy from D.C. who went to Coppin State. I don't know where he was born. East Coast biases coming in hot today on the 5-pack. Let's keep it going. Here's another guy. Are we going to get the entire Nets team? I think we are. Tate George is up next. Tate might have been, what, second year? Yeah, second year. He was with UConn. Man, we can't get away from these East Coast guys. Tate George, I feel like, had a big moment in the NCAA tournament. May have to look that up. And here's something Tate George has on. Check this out. I think we've mentioned these before. See those shoes? See those cool suckers? Those are some Reebok pumps. Wasn't just D. Brown who Tate George wore some pumps. For those who don't know, that little orange thing on the tongue, you would pump that to tighten up the shoe. Some people use their shoelace. Other people use the pump. Okay, I think we finally have broken away slightly. Here's a guy from Vanderbilt. He did play on the East Coast, but it's the Southern East Coast. Doesn't really count. Jeff Turner. Jeff Turner. This is the era of big, tall, white guys in the NBA. Guys who just like collected a paycheck. That's what they did. Jeff Turner was 6'9", not too big. I mean, back then 6'9" was bigger than 6'9" today. Now you get a 6'9" guy and it's like Luka. You think to yourself, you think Jeff Turner could hold his own against Luka? Continuing, I believe this is a player from Iowa State. Figured he was Big 8. Jeff Grayer had a very good college career and then joined the Bucks. Still don't get tired of that Bucks emblem, that old emblem. Like that. Jeff Grayer never amounted to much of anything with the Bucks. Oh, here's a guy. Every time this guy dunked a basketball, he always appeared to be doing a Statue of Liberty type of dunk. And what I mean by that is he always had one arm way up when he threw it down. And lo and behold, the card image from his 91 Upper Deck is indeed that. Otis Thorpe. Let me hold that so you can see it. Otis Thorpe throwing down the Statue of Liberty dunk. Instead of a flame in his right hand, he has a basketball. But like that shot right there, that is what made Upper Deck Upper Deck. Like this was a game changer. You know, all your cards would be vertical. What? You got horizontal cards? Awesome. Color photos front and back? Awesome. Here's Otis Thorpe getting fouled on his way to the hoop. Who's that coach back there? Don't know who that coach is. Somebody with Orlando. Don't know exactly who that would be. I see him walking around. Man, Orlando's a packed house back then. Anyway, Otis Thorpe, pretty good career. Power forward. I think he was on those Rockets teams that won the title. He was a part of that. Hey, man, we're going Syracuse crazy. Let's see. We got Sherman Douglas. We have, who was our other Syracuse guy? Was it Raphael Addison? Was that a Syracuse guy? Yeah. So we got Raphael Addison. We got Sherman Douglas. And to keep our Orange Man fever going, Ronnie Cycli. He was the original Greek freak, right? I think so. I think Ronnie Cycli was of Greek persuasion. Now, believe it or not, despite this photo, Ronnie Cycli was pretty good, and he actually did play on the court. For instance, I give you Ronnie Cycli posting up Chris Dudley on the back of the card. And Cycli was pretty good. I think he might have been the first ever selection of the Miami Heat when they were an expansion team. And he probably wasn't a superstar, so people were let down, but he hung around the NBA for quite some time. So that's a fun one. Ronnie Cycli, number 4 on the Miami Heat. Let's go to Seattle, back when they had a team. Quentin Daly. Quentin Daly looks like a fun guy to hang out with, right? Look at that. He even has fun in the layup line. Quentin Daly. Nice stuff, Quentin. 2 more cards to go. We got a checklist, baby. I tell you what, yesterday we had the Diamond Kings from Dunruss with Mark McGuire, and I didn't speak about it much. Let me see if I can pull that up. Here it is. Dunruss always did these Diamond Kings. They'd have paintings and that. Love it. Good stuff. Sharp looking. It's kind of cool, paintings. Upper Deck did that too with their cards, and here's an example. Isaiah Thomas. They have these for every single team. This actually doubles as a Pistons team checklist. I like that they also gave credit. Alan Scott. I think that's Alan Scott. No, Alan Stout. Alan Stout put this together. I wonder if there are originals of these like paintings. Were they just graphically put together on the computer? Or did they paint originals and then downsize them? Man, the originals, because they did this for every team and they did this for a number of years. Be a lot of fun to check out. Our 12th and final card in today's pack rip is not a Jerry West autograph. So I don't know if all 2,500 Jerry West autographs have already been discovered. Perhaps they have. But today will not be one of those days on the 5-pack. Instead, we get a member of the all-rookie team who currently, I believe, is a member of NBA TV. He hangs out with our buddy Rick Kamla. Rick and this guy probably go roll it because they're both Georgia guys, I think. Making the all-rookie team in 1991, Dennis Scott. 3-pointer galore. This guy loved to jack it up. That's why you wear number 3. He loved to jack it up. Rating, he was the 4th pick in the 90 draft by Orlando. 2nd leading scorer, 15.7. He set an NBA rookie record for 3-point field goals made when he made 125. That topped the old mark set by Dana Barros, who had 95. Now, I'm going to look this up after the show. Not right now, but after the show. In 1990, Dennis Scott, 90-91, Dennis Scott set the rookie record for 3-pointers, 125. I bet the rookie record's now over 200 in those 30 years, would be my guess. Because now the entire game is dunks and triples. So Dennis Scott, and he was a gunner, man. The guy jacked up his threes. I wonder how long he held on to that rookie record. He might have held it for 10 years or so. But I'd like to see where he's at on that leaderboard now. So there you go. Beautiful, beautiful pack of cards. Love them from Upper Deck. If we could just open a bunch of Upper Decks, I think we'd be fine. Upper Decks in the 90s, we'd be sitting pretty. But we don't do that. We have a new pack each and every day here on the 5-pack. So we've done a couple of baseball. We've done some basketball in honor of the playoffs. We'll see what else that we have in the grab bag. We'll get to that tomorrow. Make sure to join us tomorrow. We will get things rolling at 12 o'clock Eastern. That's what we do every day, Monday through Friday, 12 to 1. We tell you what happened from the night before that matters. We preview the night to come, tell you what's going to matter tonight. And we open up our card packs. We have some fun. Have a lot of fun for a full hour. Your one-stop shop for all you need. More to come on BSN, and stick around. 3 o'clock fantasy football game show is coming your way. Our thanks to Heather Klein. We'll see you on Thursday.